Hey, Mike, where'd the banner come from?
I had Claire bring it.
I made it.
It's actually.
Nate, did you use this with your sewing machine? It looks nice. It does.
No, I
Do you
made
have somewhere to hang it?
banners. I took them out.
It's kind of nice, that's good. Yeah, when we do it at Washington. That's a year away. Neither.
No, but I don't watch.
Mike must have remembered it from like the
This is about the piracy of the freighter.
Oh, yeah, okay. Maybe parts of it. Parts of it.
brother was the first man. Yeah. Well,
In July.
years and years ago. We were at the same place.
He was on the ship when it was hiking.
And so do you feel like that movie was like really? Oh, yeah.
Drive any further, we might, at least I go a little further, but I hate going down the Hall Road. Like 23 miles is pushing it for me nowadays, with exception of when I have to drive 5.
There, brother. There.
Hey, did you have a good, he had,
Yeah, I waved. We were talking
Where were you
to somebody.
going? Or no, you were here earlier.
good birthday?
Did.
He had the board meeting last night.
14 hours. Yeah, 14-hour day. Yeah.
Just snuck in there.
Ready back there? Okay, good. Good evening. Welcome to the April 20th meeting of the Washington Bruce Romeo Parks and Recreation Commission. I'm Dick Rosenberg. I will serve as the moderator this evening. My only role here is to run the agenda. So let's start with the call to order, and I'm going to ask for a pledge of allegiance. Brett.
About the pledge of allegiance and then
Pledge
roll
allegiance
call.
is first. Pledge allegiance is first. We can all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Item 3, roll call. Gutowski,
I'm here.
Philbrook,
Here?
Olson,
Here.
Raffy,
Here,
Russell. And our attorney is present. Okay.
attorney is
Um,
present.
Item 4 then is approval of agenda, additions or deletions. Are there any additions or deletions that the board would like to make this evening?
Mr. Philbrook, I do not have any additions or deletions.
I think we got to add the insect controls, the mosquito.
Oh, it's under, other.
Maintenance
departments. Yeah.
Maintenance contracts,
Yeah,
I saw it.
Oh, under new business.
I just brought the additional, but I only sent it to you. So we may see the third one.
Okay, so you have a copy for the board when we're ready. Thank you.
I have no other deletions or additions.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll support.
And the amendment to the agenda is again?
There was no amendment.
Oh,
No,
no
amendment.
amendment. Okay, so the agenda as stated. All right, thank you. All right, let's go on to approval of the minutes of the last. Oh. Oh, do we need, okay, let's have a vote to approve the amendment agenda. Motion, please.
I got it. They made a motion.
Who's in support, and it was supported.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's supported already.
Yeah, you're having a hard time
I
hearing.
gotta turn my hearing aids up, guys.
Okay,
Okay, all right, second?
Yes, I
Mike,
support.
okay, all right, roll call then. Gutowski,
Yes.
Philbrook,
Yes.
motion passes. Okay, then we'll move to item 5, approval of prior minutes. I think you have those in front of you. Are there any additions or corrections?
I may just have one small correction. I think on page 3 of 3 at the top, I thought I was the one that made the motion on the increase of raises and was supported by Mr. Dekowski. I'm not mistaken. I think I brought that to the table.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure, but I just think.
I'm not either 100% sure. I didn't.
And I do not, I forgot to bring my actual written notes with me.
Just let it be noted. I don't think we need to really make a change. That's-
Okay, I can change it, no problem. Okay.
Any other additions or corrections? Hearing none, I'll accept the motion to approve.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Support.
Moved and seconded. Roll call. Philbrook,
Yes.
Gutowski.
Yes.
Motion passes. Okay, item 6 then, legal counsel comments. John?
Thank you. Good evening, everybody.
You have a microphone if you'd would move that to
Went
you.
over here.
So
Okay.
everybody
I didn't
can-
need, that's fine. I frankly, for whatever reason, my peripheral vision wasn't working and I
Thank
didn't
you, sir.
notice it. So, yes, good evening, everybody. Just a few updates. First, since the last meeting, we were able to get the interlocal agreement, the new one that was adopted last September, we're able to get that properly filed with the assistance of Commissioners Philbrook and Detkowski. Got that filed with the Secretary of State and with the county clerk. That brings us into compliance with the terms of the agreement as well as the state law governing such agreement. So it's official and effective now that the intergovernmental agreement, interlocal agreement is in place. So we can continue to move onward and upward with that. I've also had the opportunity to review the several facility leases that Director Russell provided to me, and I kind of gave you my short synopsis of those. Again, got feedback from Commissioners Detkowski and Philbrook on that, and we need to make some decisions. I don't know if we'll have further discussion now or later, but I indicated to me what I think needs to be done or what the next steps would be, whether it involves taking action to formally terminate certain things, or if we want to reopen and modify terms, and we need to get that, that dialogue, that negotiation or whatever going. But we need to have some further discussion on that. A few other things that we've looked at since the last meeting. Again, I requested and was provided by Director Russell some additional information concerning purchasing policies, investment policy, and lo and behold, we do actually have in place purchasing policies and investment policies. I wasn't sure if we did, but as Russell provided it. I've reviewed the investment policy. It appears to me to comport with the state law governing investment policies. It's not unlike other municipal, or I should say local government agency investment policies that I've seen. It complies with the law, so I think we're in pretty good shape with our current investment policy. I've also looked at the purchasing policy. I mean, we do have one. The question would be, is it satisfactory to the commission going forward, or is this an opportunity to make some modifications or to supplement it?
And to that point, Mr. Starron, I would like to get a copy of what you have, as I do not have those.
All right, I can provide that in the morning.
Thank you, yeah, if you can provide that to the entire board.
Absolutely.
You had it because you changed it.
All right, so if I can get a copy of what you
Anyway,
have.
I'll make sure, just for everybody's convenience, I'll get it out in the morning.
Thank you.
And those were the things I looked at. I mean, there's a few other things that we've talked about since I've been on board, but again, I think they require some further discussion and direction from the commission, and we'll tackle those, as they ripen, as I said before. So that's my report for this evening. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir.
I'm right now, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Starron.
Okay, thanks, John. Let's move on then to item 7, which is community comments. Anyone wishing to make a comment relative to an agenda item, I would ask that you do that at this time. If you have some general comments, I would ask that you hold them until the end of the meeting. So is there anyone that wishes to address any of the agenda items?
Public comment, anybody want public comment? No?
Going once? Going twice? Public comments is closed. Thank you.
So do people, they can still make a comment when the agenda item is up, or is that how we've been doing it?
Time now is for public comment. Not to say that we would would deny somebody the opportunity to speak during an agenda item, but it is the time.
Because we do have comments on here twice, and that is the opportunity for the residents to use their voice.
Okay.
It just seems, yeah,
Hey.
because the decision's already made at that point.
Let's move on then. Item 8 is unfinished business. We've got an update on the pavilions, I presume. Claire?
Well, at Giffords Webster, we have Mike Kozak from Giffords Webster to give us the update. Everybody, you have in front of you the Giffords Webster Agreement for Professional Services. As you remember, last week, we voted and approved to engage Giffords Webster as our Parks and Rec planners. So this is the next step into it. We do have some large projects that we're looking at right away in Washington Park and in Gilcher Park. So for that reason, Giffords Webster, Mr. Kozak put together a proposal for us to consider tonight. So Mike, I will turn the mic over to you.
Sure, thanks. Mike Kozak, Giffords Webster, a partner with the firm. We're at 6303 26 Mile Road in Washington Township. As Dan indicated, we met a couple weeks ago to discuss and heard your budget presentation last night, some major improvements that you guys are planning to make at Washington Park and at Gilcher Park. The proposal that you have before you is for professional surveying, civil engineering, and landscape architecture services that are necessary to construct those improvements. We would start with a survey. As you're also keenly aware of, Washington Township is, we're in the process of designing a new parking lot behind Township Hall that is directly adjacent to where this proposed pavilion is going. So that's in the design process. We've previously surveyed that parking lot. We would be doing some additional survey to the east of the parking lot in the area that we're looking at for this pavilion. And then at Gilcher Park, there would be some survey that's required in the proposed location of where the pavilion's going. I would think before we do anything, we'd probably sit down with, I know you guys are going through a transition process where there's going to be some new commissioners soon. We would sit down with them and kind of do a visioning session and make sure that we're all on the same page of what they're looking for, what everyone's looking for. Come up with a schematic design. That's really the first phase of the design process. Review that again with the commission and the public, and then complete some construction documents that you can actually go out and use to get some bids to construct these improvements. We know you're doing some other playground updates at the Washington Park as well, so this work would be coordinated with that. We'll need some information, Clara, on where exactly that's going. I've seen schematics of it, but we'll make sure we're locating everything correctly. The pavilions would be designed with electricity, lighting, and then provisions for future restrooms. So we're going to make sure that we leave enough space surrounding the location of them. Security cameras would also be prepped for those as well. So power would be, again, routed to a location that's logical. We can work with any vendors that you've already had communications with on how to best locate those and what's going to give us the best coverage at both parks. We believe there's electricity available at Gilcher Park. It's a tornado siren pole there in kind of the middle of the park. We're thinking that that's going to be where we maybe have to steal it from. Not steal it, but, connect it to. And then at Washington Park, obviously, there's already lighting there at the tennis courts that we hopefully can connect into as well. And we'll determine all that with a little further investigation. So we're excited to help you guys out. When we got the call to kind of assist, we are really happy to help. We're excited for some of the improvements that are being made. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
I think we have at Gilcher Park, I know there's irrigation system out there, which would mean that there would be electricity already dropped in the pole at one point or another. I'm not sure exactly where.
Yeah, there is, and there's ample amps. The box would sustain additional electrical.
Already metered already then?
Yeah.
Perfect. Water out there is, you have a city water tap as well, or the irrigation's on a well?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Both parts are well.
both, okay. So we'll work with Public Works in Washington to determine what makes the most sense, again, future-proofing, kind of long-term. I know we've already had preliminary conversations, Mr. Ditkowski has as well with them, and the township's willing to help out with that process, and they do all their own taps and make those connections as we need to, so. This is a job really about coordination. There's a lot of different moving parts. We want to make sure it all works together really well and gives you a great result for you and the residents.
So the first order of business, do we have to approve his contract? think that would be the first thing, right?
I would think so.
Yeah, as soon as we can get that, then we will start rolling with survey because that's going to have a little bit of lead time to it anyway. And then we can, as our field crews are out there capturing information and processing that, we can start meeting and determining a little more specifics on what these pavilions are going to look like. I think the conversations preliminary that we've had is something that Gilcher Park's going to be, you have a higher dollar budget for that, something larger that maybe you can kind of build out as you go. So we're talking about prepping that for plumbing and water and electrical again, thinking long-term to create a really first-class facility there.
We had those conversations at the board table here as to making that more, instead of, having the pavilion there, but eventually having the bathrooms there, having the outdoor kitchen. And so it's going to be a build-out, like we talked about, over the next few years.
Definitely a phased approach.
It's not going to
yeah.
happen this year, because first of all, it's going to take quite a bit of dollars, and we're going to want to spend that over a period of time, and hopefully even get some grants in the meantime to help pay for some of this stuff right here.
Hey, Clara, you had mentioned last night the master plan is just about through the approval process.
Well, the draft is done.
Draft's done, okay.
We're just gonna let the new commission come in, make ideas,
Make-
whatever. Make sure we check with the survey and everything is up, so.
Yeah, that'll obviously be a tool that'll be necessary for any grant applications to have that, on file, show that these are phased approaches and they're in your plan. And we're very familiar with those grant application process and can help you guys out with that in the future.
So the master plan is scheduled to be completed beginning of next year so that it can be submitted to the state
Yep.
in time so that we can start applying for these grants and that. If we can get the dollars into Parks and Rec and get things happening in all these parks and get build out of that and get new equipment, whether it's playground, whether it's anything, definitely we want to go after those federal and state dollars that, that we can, and county dollars that we can. So I think tonight what we're looking at is the compensation for the pre-design of $7,200, the design for the schematic of $9,200, the construction documents for $11,300, and the pre-construction for $3,500. And I've come up with a total of $31,200. So that is my motion to approve this right here so that the new commission can hit the ground running, because now you're in place and they can just kind of take off from there.
Okay, I have a motion by Gutowski. Is there a second?
So that's on page 4.
I think first order of business, we gotta need to approve the contract, so. I'd like to, per our March 16th meeting, that we were gonna review the Giffords and Westford proposal at our April 20th meeting, which we do have the proposal in front of us. I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve the proposal for the agreement for professional services from Giffords and Webster.
And I will support that.
Okay. Then the motion is by Philbrook. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Supported by Gutowski. Any further discussion?
My only question is, have you reviewed this as of yet?
not.
And I was just going to add, if you want to make that subject to legal counsel's review, this is our standard form. If there's anything in there that scares him, we can talk about it and get it changed.
So
No
we'll
no big
finish
deal.
this motion first, and then I will amend my original motion.
Okay.
Motion.
Further discussion? Call the question. Mr. Philbrook.
What was it? I'm sorry.
Call the question.
Call the question.
Well, no, we're,
You made
motion,
a motion.
you made a motion. Gutowski seconded it.
Right.
We've had discussion. If the discussion is done, I would ask, then, well, I guess let's call the question. So you're first to vote, sir.
Oh, you voted. I didn't know the question. Got me on that one, I guess.
Keep it simple.
My vote would be yes for familiar with Kiffles and Webster. Both of our townships use Kiffles and Webster, both for engineering and our planning phases. They're very good company.
My vote is yes.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you very much.
Okay, so now the second motion is to approve Giffords Webster the amount of $31,200 compensation for the pre-design, design, and pre-construction, subject to review by Parks and Rec's attorney and legal counsel.
Okay, motion on the table. Do I have a second?
I'll support with questions.
Okay, support, discussion. No questions, did you say?
I'm looking just,
Okay.
I have one, would this just come up, like, we don't have a line item, or we're just gonna take it out of the,
This will be part of, so,
capital improvement.
yeah, so what we have already budgeted in Washington and Gilters, part will come out, Washington Park part will come out of Gilters Park for the capital improvement.
well, they're all one, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
But
Yeah.
out of capital.
Just out
yeah,
of
so that
capital.
comes out of there, out of capital
We
improvement.
don't have that money.
Okay,
She just wanted to make sure there wasn't an amendment. that
Absolutely.
was not needed, so.
Absolutely.
Good call.
okay, no further discussion, I'll call the question.
Oh, no,
Okay,
Like this, I mean, this, the design that you're gonna have, you got a pre-design on something we've already got it.
Right,
Design
and then
already.
he, like,
Don't-
Jack said,
Yeah.
he will sit with the.
Those categories are just the way we internally group it. Basically, we're doing a topographic survey, we're going to do a schematic and a construction document phase, and then bid it out. If you guys do your own internal bidding, we can kind of hand you everything and say, go at it and save some of those dollars at the end. But yeah, basically, we're doing a topo first. That's our pre-design, I guess.
And then he'll have the meetings with the new commission, and because if they want to change some things around, that's their opportunity to do it. So they have literally full control, we're just starting the process.
Permitting and reviews are gonna be out of this pre-construction.
Yeah,
Also,
we're anticipating that obviously because we're in the municipalities that we're kind of already working in, that we'll work hand in hand with DPW as a part of that. I don't believe you guys have to do anything with planning commissions or anything to that nature, maybe just an informational.
Well, we can.
Document,
Ask
we-
that question, or you
yeah.
can ask that question,
Okay.
planning right there, and.
Typically with municipal facilities, that's how we handle it.
New territory, right?
Yeah, there you go.
So we'll just learn as we go and just keep growing and moving forward.
Yeah, Mike, we're anticipating that that's included and it's minimal amount of effort.
so not, basically, we won't be expecting the additional cost of what we got here.
What you see is what you get. We're not anticipating anything additional.
I have no further questions for Mr.
more questions, okay. Let's see, motion by Yudowski.
Yes?
Philbrook,
Yes,
motion passes.
thanks, Mike.
Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.
For all your
Looking forward to it.
effort on this right there, and I appreciate you meeting with us for, we spent a couple hours going through everything, making sure that Mike had everything that was discussed here at the board table.
Take care.
Okay, then moving on to the next item, which is 8.2, maintenance contracts. Claire?
So we have put out for bid the lawn care, and within the packet, I gave you the comparison. And within that comparison, we had eight different companies bid for the job. So when you look at the comparison, we had extreme lows and extreme highs. So once you take the extreme lows and extreme highs out, there were 4 left. It was Green Meadows, Landscape Direct, Our White Services, and I believe Ultimate was the name of the other. So my suggestion is that we keep things the same because we've had great service and no problems with Landscape Direct and Our White Services since we've had them.
Anybody here that's representing any of the bidding companies?
Landscape Direct.
Did you have anything that you wanted to say? No?
Yeah, I could come up.
Sure. Please make sure, mention your name and address, please.
Myron Kukuk with Landscape Direct. I am the owner. Just want to make sure that everybody get the document I put in with the bid package that explained our company and the type of equipment we use and such.
The letter, yes. I sent the
Everybody
letter,
got
yeah.
that? Okay, awesome. So just a quick review, as you know, you had the engineer up here as well. We installed electrical at Gilcher and at Crystal. We've worked at the park since 1990-ish, might be 1993 or whatever, when Greg Breinert was the director at that time. And we developed Gilcher 100%. We developed Orchard Hills 100%. And Crystal, we came in with Schaefer, which got awarded the contract when the other company failed to perform at Crystal Diamonds in Bruce. The type of equipment we use, because the parks are large, they're basically like large sod farms. So we have, instead of a $15,000 lawnmower, which is a great lawnmower, which are used at everybody's home pretty much, we have a $120,000 lawnmower that has large flotation tires on it, 16-foot decks, and doesn't damage the turf, which of course the soccer and athletic uses. Same with, and part of the bid package, it's hard to bid apples to apples because you don't know what type of equipment other companies are using. Our vibratory roller is like nobody else's, to where we get compliments as soon as we roll the turf from the soccer clubs and stuff. How much better, you know, they can utilize it and the kids aren't tripping and stuff like that. So I don't want to go through the document I sent out there, but the bid package is, because we're very comparable in price, as Claire just said, and we've been servicing the parks for 20-some years, if not longer. We know what's expected, working with this athletic director, with the soccer clubs, baseball. We perform pretty much on a minute's notice. When Lynn Walker calls and says, hey, we have an emergency, we're out there a lot of times the same exact day when that occurs. And we're very accommodative to Parks and Rec and would like to continue working with Parks and Rec. So any questions regarding the maintenance and upkeep of the parks that I can answer for anybody?
I don't have anybody else.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else here from the, on? Like Claire said, I mean, our bids are all over the place. Just on one park alone, there's a high bid was 106,000, and the low bid was 12,500. I mean, it's a $90,000 difference in prices. You know, I mean, and it's not that, it's that way all the way across the board. I do know that we use Landscape Direct and our White Services currently, and I think that they do a good job. I mean, their prices are right down the middle all the way across the board, and as the gentleman just spoke, he's got the right equipment. He's been the one that designed and built the park and knows where everything's at. I feel that we should just continue with the services that we have currently with Parks and Rec, and I would make a motion to go ahead and continue using Landscape Direct and our White Services as presented with their bid packet for 2023 to 2024.
Okay, I have a motion on the table. Do I have support? Are there any alternatives? Mr. Gutowski, would you like to offer an alternative?
I wish to go through each park for the list that everybody has, one at a time, and award each park. One at a time. So you have a copy of the list?
Um,
And maybe separate motions on each one? So I know what. Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Is this the list of the 7 parks that are listed down this way?
No, this is the one I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Which one? This one here?
So,
It's the handwritten one.
Yeah, okay. Got it.
This
so
one.
I'll make a motion for the Bruce Township Park to approve Ron White services in the amount of $13,970.
We'll support.
Okay. Is there any discussion?
It's currently the service we're using.
Okay.
So I have a question. Are we just, so for each park, you're just gonna pick the lowest, or are you looking at?
So we're,
top
right
3?
now, we're gonna go through and make a motion for each park.
No, I understand that, but
So I guess you're gonna have to wait till the end to get that answer.
Okay. So we have a motion on the table.
so can you wait till the end to vote on them all?
No, I'm making a
Right.
motion to vote each one at a time.
You know, to be honest with you, Claire, I mean, I don't mind going through one at a time, and we're still gonna have an end result. Obviously, we had a motion that failed already with what we currently had, so, I mean, we are in the mowing season right now, we need to get through this. You know, it's unfortunate, I mean, right? I mean, I can try again, and we'll see what happens, but at this point in time, I mean,
Okay, so we're going through this, and the motion is for the Bruce Township Park, is that correct?
Correct.
just.
And you're recommending the R. White Services, that's the motion, all right? Is there support for that motion?
Mr. Philbrook already supported it.
Supporter, okay, excuse me, all right. Motion on the table, support, or not, to call the roll, Tatowski,
Yes?
Philbrook,
Yes,
okay.
I'd like to make a motion for Orchard Hills Park for Ron White services in the amount of $9,850.
All right, do I have support?
I'll support.
Okay, motion and support.
Again, that's the current service that we've been using.
Any further discussion? If not, I'll call the motion, Tatowski,
Yes?
Philbrook,
Yes,
okay, motion passes.
I'd like to make a motion for Romeo Community Center in the amount of, for Ron White services in the amount of $13,385.
we'll support.
All right, discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question.
Again, I'd like to make comment that that is the current service that we're using, that we've been using.
Okay. Call the question, Tatowski,
Yes?
Philbrook,
Yes,
thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Green Meadows Landscape for Crystal Diamonds Park in the amount of $30,500,
it's actually 33,500.
or $33,500.
Okay.
I kind of hit her.
All right,
I have no support for this.
support, all right?
No.
Any dis-
No.
No,
Not supported.
all right. Alternatives,
Again, Landscape Direct has been doing it all along. It's a huge field. And it needs a lot of work, and I think it requires somebody that's very familiar. There's a reason why we're not going with with our current services on that one.
I'm not voting for Landscape Direct.
Is there a particular reason why?
No, I am not voting for Landscape Direct.
But you
I am
are
not voting
using
for
your
landscape direct.
personal, wait, I think I can talk though. You have personal feelings and you're making a decision about a contracted company who has never had any issues, has always went above and beyond, including our White Services. These two companies came in second and third for entirety. Like, there's no, I just don't know that that's right, that you can make a decision because You got mad at Myron.
Well, I support Dan Tatowski here, so,
Well, that's good.
So the
but-
motion fails.
yeah.
Do you have a counter motion?
My counter-
Myron, do you have a lawyer? Because that's ridiculous.
My counter motion would be to approve for Crystal Diamonds Landscape Direct at a fee of $36,916.
Motion on the table.
I will not support that.
Okay, no support.
I can come up and make a comment, maybe?
I'm also
No, we are at
concerned,
the board table now, sir.
Okay.
are
Move
are
on to
we
another
available
one.
for commenting right now?
I think
Because
so.
I think it was one comment that Landscape Direct made was that they have the appropriate equipment. And for those ball fields, you need that.
Green Meadows also had the appropriate equipment when I looked through their equipment list.
Okay, but they have had no prior experience, and my concern is that they're either gonna be they could be losing money on it, or, you know, for, I don't know, what was their cost?
Looking at the contracts that they currently have and who they're dealing with in the municipalities, check them out, I've seen nothing negative about them.
It's crazy that you can do just because you
So-
can do.
We're gonna keep personal out of it if you don't mind. Right now, we're going to
Completely in it.
continue with picking contracts.
We come back to that one.
I will make a motion for Gilsher Kreisman, Chrisman Park for Green Meadows Landscape in the amount of $56,835.
No
Motion on the
support.
table. What was it? I'm sorry, Mike.
No support.
Do you have a counter proposal?
Make a motion for Gilcher Chrisman for the maintenance to be landscape directed at a cost of $203,000.
No support.
Motion dies. Go on to the next one.
Okay, we'll move on to the next part. Washington Township Park, make a motion for Ron White Services in the amount of $18,415.
No support.
Washington Township.
You said no
So
support.
just so I understand,
No
so,
support.
okay.
No support, okay.
Because Ron White is currently handling Washington Township Park for Washington Township.
He mows the front, doesn't he? Isn't Washington Township Park maintained by a landscape direct company?
Yes.
So, again, they've been doing it all along. Their prices,
So motion fails. Do you have a counter, sir?
again, the better price bid, and the company that's been doing it all along at Landscape Direct for $16,905.
No support.
Motion fails.
No motion.
Motion for Aikman Park, Ron White Services in the amount of $6,480.
Support. Again, that's the company we've been using all along.
All right, we got a motion for Aikman Park, Ron White Services, support.
You have a
Call the
question?
question, Gutowski.
Yes?
Lisa has a question.
I had a question.
Oh.
My understanding was you guys were going to go back to Washington Township to determine whether or not the intention was for that Aikman property to become a park. Is that going to happen before Parks and Rec starts taking on or continues the responsibility of the mowing?
So,
Is there, can you guys give an update?
so this is kind of a trade-off that Romeo Lions Field is also not part of Parks and Rec.
Mhm.
So, and we're looking at maintaining that field right there.
So it has a ball.
So,
We don't do anything at Aikman.
so,
Okay.
so that's my motion, and,
So help me to understand. So currently, Parks and Rec pays for the lawn mowing at Romeo Lions because there is a current ball field that we utilize with Parks and Rec. So we're already paying for that with whatever service handles the lawn cutting for the Washington Township Park. But Aikman is just an add-on, and we have not in the past year or years prior took responsibility for cutting that lawn. I guess my question,
We've cut that lawn.
we have cut that lawn.
Because it
personally.
has a sign out there that I
Says-
purchased, future home of
Okay.
Aikman Park.
So until it's determined otherwise by Washington Township, I just want to understand, I wasn't sure, like, because of our previous conversations, you know? So as of right now, we are going to continue. That is something that Parks and Rec has been paying for on an annual basis, okay. My questions are answered.
Your question's answered, okay. Any further discussion? Okay. Call the roll, Gutowski,
Yes?
Philbrook,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion for Romeo and Lions Field for Ron White Services in the amount of $6,800.
Support. Again, it's this company we've been using all along.
okay. Any discussion? Okay, if not, call the question, Gutowski,
Yes?
Philbrook,
Yes.
motion passes. We want to run back through the other parks right now?
I can't even, pardon?
You want to run back through the other parks? What's your others here, gentlemen?
Well, right now, we don't have a contract approved. And where we at? If we wait till next month, what's the grass gonna be like on these fields?
I just, again, it saddens me that this is where we're at. I'm sorry to all the new commissioners who are watching this, because I don't think that you should put your personal feelings when you're making a business decision. I believe that's what you continue to tell me. So by example, there is not one complaint about Landscape Drive.
So, Mr. Philbrook, do you have any further, another person,
I do not.
and I do not.
I don't think they'll let you ask a question.
What was that, Claire?
I have a question.
Jen has a question, so does a couple.
If you'd like to come to the podium, sure, absolutely.
That's fine.
So then you are welcome to also.
Hi, Janet Batani, Bruce Township. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I'm curious that the contracts are Crystal and Gilcher and the Washington Township. Who is where is Landscape Direct in relationship to the other bids?
I will answer that for you. So on Crystal Diamonds, Green Meadows is at $33,500. Landscape Direct is at $36,916.
So Landscape Direct is more.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And how about at Gilcher?
So Gilcher, Green Meadows is at $56,835. Landscape Direct is $54,203.
Okay. And how about at Washington Township?
Washington Park, Landscape Direct is at $16,905. And Ron White is at $18,415.
Isn't it that green company?
Pardon?
For Washington Township, isn't it the Green Meadows?
They're $12,495.
For Green Meadows? So Green Meadows is 12.5 and Landscape Direct is at 16.9?
The motion was for Ron White Services at 18,415 for Washington Park, not Green Meadows.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so as a resident,
That was because they were already doing Washington Park.
okay, so as a resident of this township, I'm going to suggest that we go with the bid at Gilcher for the 54, not the 56. And that's all I have to say.
Any other comments?
I'd like to make a comment.
A resident here?
One more, Eddie.
One more, right behind you.
Please state your name and your address.
Hi, Jim Jacks, Washington Township. I have a personal feeling. I've been involved with all the fields around, all the ball fields. My wife and I manage the soccer club around here, so we've intimately involved with everybody. Personally, I can speak for Landscape Direct. My father passed away, and we have a bench and a tree out there. And the tree ended up it died after like 2 years, okay? Landscape Direct came back, gave us a new tree, no cost, no nothing. They stand by their work, they do good work, I've seen it. I don't know why we're not voting them in. Personal feelings, that's all.
Thank you.
I got a question for you, Mr. Jacks.
Yep.
If for some reason the fields don't get mowed for a month from now, what's going to happen out there?
Well, put it this way, right now, the ball fields they need to be mowed. They're in that position right now. I don't know they're obviously not going to be able to play soccer at the average speed. So it just is what it is. I mean, they've been maintaining the parks, they've been rolling them, and they've been doing a good job. I don't have one issue with any of the work they're doing. So if there's no complaints and their bids are comparable, I don't know why we're not looking at them. I don't care what it is, personal feelings. If you have personal feelings, you take them outside. You're doing it for the community. You're not voting for yourself, Dan. You're voting for the community.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
I can maybe clear a little of this up. My first experience with Dan, if it's okay if I call you Dan? Okay. You were giving out free water that the state was providing because of the water main break up north of here, and you met me out at Gilcher. I was at that time doing a free service, actually, for the soccer club because they couldn't line the fields because there was so much grass on the fields because it rained out, excuse me. And we were blowing off where they lined the fields with the paint, which they couldn't do with any grass clippings. Dan, I'm going to read this off. I didn't assume it was going to come down to this, but I'll just read through my experience with you. First and only time. First and only time. Dan motioned me over when we were working at Gilcher Park, and he was handing out state-funded water due to the water main break. He came up to me and attempted to make horns on his forehead and said in a sentence that he was not the devil, but my company will no longer be permitted to work at Washington Township. He continued to state that I am spreading lies, disinformation about his actions for the care of the parks, and to continue to explain himself. I asked him what lies, and he did not answer, only that we will not work for Parks and Rec. I stated that I put the Parks and Rec, WBRW, current news information on our website that our company owns, and a link to contact more info from Parks and Rec, so the public could be made aware of the going on in Washington Township, inquire further on their own. I just put public information on our website. After getting trashed further by Dan, I asked him to please walk 50 feet into the soccer field, which you will remember, and, excuse me, and look at the turf damage that the kids were playing on. There was 10 humongous crater holes out there. The turf was killed and rutted. And prior to our meeting, Dan, I asked Claire for permission to fix that, and she was not allowed because she was not authorized to budget any money to work at the parks. I stated that the kids will get twisted ankles or break something, but he changed the subject to himself and his bad ankles, and I think he said his bad hip, and the kids were not his problem. I asked a second time for him to walk and look, but he was not concerned and went on socializing with the residents, introducing himself and handing out free water. This was the one and only time I spoke to Dan Dukowski. At a later date, I fixed and seeded all the bad spots in the soccer field on my own dollars. It's just not right that we leave this the way it was. You're prejudiced against me, Dan, no question about that.
Well, it's obvious with your statements and with your written statement that you are also prejudiced against me because you embellished on some of those. Some of those are just not accurate. And I'm not going to go back and forth on that. But Myron, I can't vote for you.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Mary.
Yep.
Thank you for your comment.
Everything that you've done for this community, your engineering, the parks that we have. I'm sad.
Yep. I mean, the township paid no engineering fees to me when we developed the parks. It was done well under budget. The township asked for no bonding from our company because we're a very trusted company in the Washington Township and Bruce Township, and we live here as well.
Thank you. Well, I think we should pick some people and get rolling on this right here. So
I'd
I'd
just like to make
a motion.
one more comment before we move on from that. So in comparison to the inability to make a decision on this, in comparison to the three parks, Crystal, Gilcher, and then Washington Township, the total cost that was quoted by Ron White Services, who we all agree are great services, provides great services to both townships, came in at a total of $123,555. And for those same parks, the total that came in from Landscape Direct was $108,024 for those same three parks. That's a $15,531 difference and that's $15,531 that do not go to events, to services, to whatever this Parks and Rec tri-community needs. And I just wanted to put that out there. I'm very disappointed also because I don't think we're looking out for the best interest in the parks.
Lisa,
And this is
I'm not sure
one
where
day.
you're getting your numbers from, but between what was motioned, not approved, and not supported, and what was motioned and not supported, I only come up with $7,000 difference between the companies that were motioned and for Gilcher, Washington, and Crystal, so your numbers are wrong.
My numbers are accurate in comparison to Ron White Services
Ron
because it
White was
appeared.
not picked as every
for
one of
any of
these
those.
right here, and you are using Ron White in every case.
Well, I was
So
using
Green
that.
Meadows
May I
was
please
used.
finish, Dan? Please
So,
let
well,
me
if
finish.
you- Not when you
The only
say
thing-
incorrect information.
No, I'm just,
it is up to
the
you to
reason
step
why,
up.
the reason
and say
why
that your
I,
information
excuse me,
is
please let
incorrect.
me finish. I'm not incorrect, I'm just comparing because Ron White was the only two, or it was the only one service provider that the two of you could agree on. And so I'm making a point. If you want to look at, if we want to compare also the third service provider, which Mike was not in agreement with, then I'll happily tabulate those numbers as well and see where we come out between the three different service providers. That was my point. The information is not incorrect. Please don't state that. It was just, that was the reasoning behind why I went with that, with Ron White for all three of those.
Well, Ron White was not
Okay, so then,
motioned to do them for all the parts. That was my point.
I'll put a motion back on the table for Washington Park.
I'm sorry?
Washington Park. You want to put your motion back on the table for Washington Park?
And what was that motion, please, Mike?
I think that Washington Park's, Dan's motion originally was for our White Services to take care of Washington Park for 18,415.
Yes, it was.
take a motion.
Well, you would have to make the motion because you have already not seconded mine, so I can't put it the same person. Am I correct, Mr. Staron?
Procedurally, that's correct.
Thank you, sir.
It's a,
So you would have to make the motion, sir.
So I'll make the motion to have Ron White Services maintain Washington Park. These contracts are gonna be for no longer than 1 year though. Let the new commission come in and make the decisions if they wanna continue the services on these parks that were originally taken care of by Landscape Direct.
I will support that.
Okay. Let's restate the motion then. Mr. Philbrook, it's Washington Park with Ron White Services, is that correct, sir?
18415, 1 year contract only.
Okay. Call the roll. Philbrook,
Yes?
Gutowski?
Yes.
All right, motion passes.
Make a motion for Gilcher Chrisman Park to have Green Meadows Landscaping maintain that park for a 1 year contract only at a sum of $56,835. $56,835.
56,835, correct?
Yes.
I will support that.
Okay, there's a motion with support. Any discussion?
yes. So far with the motions made, I just want to point out that the board has just approved an additional $4,142 for these two contracts, more than the previous providers.
We got one more.
Yeah, and we have one more, and this is really just very
This
disheartening.
one's actually.
This one here is $3,400 less.
I'll make a motion for Crystal Diamonds to approve.
Wait,
We didn't vote.
we need to vote on that, okay? The motion was by Philbrook. Mr. Philbrook, roll call.
Yes.
Gutowski?
So Crystal Diamonds, Green Meadows for $33,500, correct?
No, this is for,
Gilcher, we're on Gilcher.
All right, I thought we were done with that.
you just gotta say yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Motion passes.
A motion on the floor for Crystal Diamonds to have Green Meadows Landscape maintain Crystal Diamonds for 1 year contract only at a sum of $33,500.
Support.
All right, motion support, discussion.
Can I say something? I don't know. Since we don't know Green Meadows, and I'm assuming that we'll hope that they do a good job, but if they do not do a good job, can we bounce back?
You have them for 1 year. They have a 1 year contract.
Okay, but Dan, you know that even at Washington, the companies that they've had did not perform services, so then our White stepped in, it happened. So I guess what I'm looking at is if that happens, maybe we should at least make accommodations to have Landscape Direct, because I don't know that our White Services can do our complete service that's needed, plus do all of Washington Township.
I've had conversations with
So have I.
Ron White Services, who said if I had to do, if I did have all the parts, I would just hire more people.
Okay, and then the only other thing I would still like to say is how very disappointing this is. And I'm so embarrassed for this commission. And I'm sorry, Mike, that you got pushed in, because there's two people. This is the exact reason why we need this 5-person commission.
All right, can we
And the
call the roll,
5-person
please?
commission to work as a team for this department.
All right, Claire, we're not gonna get more.
Okay?
Any further discussion? If not, I'll call the question. Philbrook?
Yes.
Gutowski?
Yes.
Okay.
Lisa, what is it? They should change things to around under $2,000 difference.
Yeah, just about.
Which is pretty good.
Still.
Thank you for coming in tonight. Appreciate everything you've done.
Myron, thank you from Parks and Recreation and the community. And I know the soccer clubs and the baseball clubs and everybody that you've done so much for.
For a long time, like I said, not one complaint.
Not one. Well, one.
Yeah.
Okay, next item on the agenda. Is there another maintenance contract beyond this?
put Mosquito Joe under maintenance.
I can't hear you guys at all.
No, it sounds.
That's other,
That's under
that's
new
under new business, under other park minutes. No, that's okay, thanks for checking out those.
Yep, okay. All right, then let's move on to item,
Now, and within the maintenance contracts, I thought we also had to approve insect spraying. You had mentioned that.
So we just talked about that. That's further down on the list under new business.
Under 9.3, other park maintenance.
Okay, so that's where that is, all right.
okay. All right,
Sorry, I
then,
couldn't hear. You guys were
Sorry.
very quiet.
I don't have a mic, so I'll try to yell.
If you want, come on up here and there's an extra mic here.
it might be helpful.
Thank you.
All right. Let's then move on to item 8.3, which is commission member vote.
Oh, we gotta do, don't we do the mosquito kind?
That's under, that's
I'm looking at the pack.
under section 9.3.
Yeah.
I think we have just 4 people after that, three.
Oh, I mean,
I
I
guess I wasn't too far off base.
got under 8.2.
Well, we put it under 9.3, under other
Other
park
maintenance.
maintenance. We put the mosquito down there.
And
I know, everybody's in their own thoughts right now,
Well,
so.
Some
Little
are
comedic
quieter than
relief.
others, and that's okay.
And my job is to keep things on track.
Continue going forward. Dick, sorry for calling.
Okay. All right. Next item, 8.3, commission member vote. So this is the opportunity to elect the new board, which is maybe the biggest piece of business we've got certainly tonight and maybe for all the activity that we're going through. So the activity here is to select 2 commissioners from Bruce Township and 3 commissioners from Washington Township. In order to do that, I took a quick, or not a quick look, I looked at Robert Rules of Order and determined that our best way to do this, or our only way to do this, is nominations from the floor and then a oral vote. So it is.
Nominations from the floor, what?
Pardon?
What?
All right, no.
Okay, you can't
No,
hear.
no, I would like to jump in there, okay?
Okay.
Washington Township gets to pick 3 representatives. Bruce Township gets to pick 2 representatives. Washington Township, myself as the commissioner, I will nominate the 3 people, is how I feel it should go. Mr. Philbrook as the commissioner, I feel he should nominate the 2 people for Bruce Township. The only thing the interlocal agreement allows for is the voting by the 5 members. But we are still the commission members. So we are the decision makers, but in this case here, 5 people get to vote instead of 2. That's the only difference that I see. Does that make sense, Mr. Staron?
It makes sense. I mean, there's multiple ways you can go about this. Mr. Rosenberg's way is one, that's another way.
Yeah, and
You could do them one by one, I mean, however.
yeah, I do not
Chooses to do
want
it.
to turn around one person by one person, say yes or no. I think that's
We want to
not
embarrass
fair
them.
to those people.
I get it, it's awkward.
It's awkward.
It shouldn't be awkward though, because every candidate was very good. And I think we all were in agreement with that.
They
We
were.
had some very strong candidates, so it's just a tough choice to make. I don't think anybody in any way should be embarrassed if they are not selected. I think there's a lot of other opportunities available within Parks and Rec
You guys really wouldn't want this job anyways.
that, after this, right?
Well, I'm going to step
So,
in here.
Mr. Philbrook, that is my suggestion, that you nominate your 2, I nominate our 3, and then the board collectively votes.
I like to make my suggestions for Washington as well, though, to be honest with you.
It's
What do you mean?
Romeo, Washington, Bruce. I'm sorry,
Oh.
Washington, Bruce, Romeo Commission. We need to start acting as one, not split in 2. This is where the problems come from.
When we pick a new commission, we need to make sure that all three communities are represented. That not every person that is on the commission geographically live within 1 square mile.
We need to make
That is
sure
my-
that they're for this entire community. It's not where you live when it comes to this department. It is what is best for this community. We've talked about it. We know where we need to build. You don't have to live in Washington Township to do good things in Washington Township.
Well, I think the voters in Washington Township may disagree with you when they're putting up 75% of the money that they would like to have a voice.
Well, they do have a voice because they vote. And the vote, they have a vote in 2024.
So where we're at now is just deciding the process. I don't see why Mr. Detowski doesn't nominate the Washington people and even Mr. Philbrook nominates the Bruce people, because everybody gets to vote.
What happens when we vote and it fails?
And we have to pick somebody else.
Yeah,
Try.
I hope it doesn't fail. I mean, I would hope I hope nothing fails. I hope that the people who are nominated all get approved.
I'll start out then.
I guess I will ask a question, and that is the organization run in accordance to Robert Rules of Order?
Well, the controlling document is the interlocal agreement. Robert's Rules of Order are the procedural rules as to how we actually conduct our affairs during a meeting.
Mm-hmm. And there are about 12 pages in Robert's Rules of Order that address the issue of nominations and elections. Okay?
Do we even operate under the Roberts rules, or is that just a guideline in which we can fall back on?
Well,
Nothing
that's
in
what I
the
said, I mean,
interlocal.
I think this, your interlocal agreement controls, and as I said, there's multiple ways you can do this. I've seen public agencies do it multiple ways, where you put nominations out, as Mr. Rosenberg said. I don't want to repeat myself, or you could do it one by one, so whatever your pleasure is, there's no one right way to do it.
I think the way that gets the least no votes is the best way to do it. And I think the way we just suggested would get the least no votes for anybody.
How do you know that?
I'm hoping if Mr. Philbrook nominates someone, then we respect that that's who he wants and we would vote yes. That's how I know that. Why would we not respect Mr. Philbrook's choice for his people? And why would we not respect our choice for our people? Seems easy.
It's our.
Everybody's voting, Clara. Everybody's voting.
If I could just throw in one more thing, everybody is voting tonight, but it doesn't just end tonight. After
That's right.
the commissioners, assuming that we choose 5 people, select 5 people tonight, then it goes back to the townships.
Right.
Bruce Township has to ratify
Right.
the slate, and Washington Township has to,
And ratify just means
means
they
approve.
agree, right? Yeah.
Right, means
We
approve.
were trying to.
And if they don't
If they don't approve.
They don't approve, then it
We're all
comes back here.
And
And we-
if I read it correctly, Mr. Stern, Washington approves the 3 Washington Township representatives, and Bruce ratifies the 2 Bruce Township residents at their boards.
That would make sense to do it. I mean, quite frankly, this is not the most artfully worded section of the agreement, but just to harmonize it and make sense of it, and so it's not, internally
Because otherwise it could get
consistent.
approved in one board, kicked in another.
Exactly, it doesn't make a lot of sense, so.
And we don't want to go circles and keep doing this month after month after
The
month.
short answer to your question is yes, that Bruce is going to ratify or not the Bruce representatives, and same thing for Washington.
Thank you.
For the initial board, then, well, let's worry
And
about
once the new board
later,
takes over.
but after the initial board, then
The interlocal
then
kicks in.
the interlocal kicks in and the communities pick the representatives.
Right. Yeah.
So for clarification on just the definition of ratification. So I'm looking it up and it's the action of signing or giving formal consent.
Correct.
So it is more along the lines of whatever the commission brings to the boards for approval, should realistically, there should be no reason, if the commission is recommending these members for the new commission, there's no reason why the board should necessarily disapprove of the decision of the existing current commission members that they brought on to. Is that
But I mean, that can vary. They have the authority. The boards will have the authority.
Okay.
Similar, if you look at the bigger scale, you see it all the time in Washington DC. The president makes an appointment, then it goes to the Senate.
Senate.
And sometimes it goes easy, and a lot of times it
It
doesn't.
doesn't. Okay. I just wanted to understand that process.
It's really the same process. We're just on a smaller, more local scale.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that.
Now but just along those lines, so it goes to the boards, the township boards, and they can ratify. Now, what they can't do is select somebody completely different. And they basically take what the commission presents to them and they either agree with it or not. And if they disagree, then it comes back to the commission to come up with a compromise candidate or whatever. But the township boards can't just say, I don't care what the commission appointed, here's the people we're going to appoint. You can't do that.
And then the other question I had is regarding the alternate members. We as the commission do not, I'm an alternate, but the commission, Mike and Dan, whatever is voted on, are they going to make recommendations to the board as far as who you feel should be the alternate? And then the board, you hope, will agree with that, or, because we never really discussed it, it's not necessarily someone that you guys name, but that, what are your thoughts on that?
How do you read it in the?
Well, it'll be, the discretion is, the Bruce Township Board and the Washington Township Board have complete discretion
Right.
as who they want to appoint. Now, whether they want to defer to Commissioner Ditkowski or Commissioner Philbrook as, respective communities, and, who do you think it should be? Okay, sounds good to us, or whether they just want to, roll up their sleeves and select who they want. That doesn't necessarily have to even be one of the people you're considering tonight.
So that is at the full discretion and pleasure of the board.
What I said, it's unlimited discretion, correct.
For their
For
individual
the
alternate.
alternate, just for the alternate, right?
We're not even looking at tonight.
Okay.
Oh,
I'm gonna make my recommendation for
Yeah, I
my
think we
alternate.
should make a recommendation.
yeah, I agree.
I think that you guys should come up with a recommendation for,
I agree.
I would rather leave it to the township boards and let them have it.
I'm gonna give them a recommendation.
Yeah.
They don't have no idea the applications, the
Well,
process.
I'll give the recommendation, yes, but at the township board.
right, okay.
Yeah, sure. I thought you meant here. and that.
No, well, a little bit of both, because I just think it would be, for a person who necessarily wasn't chosen as the 3 or the 2 candidates, it might let them know that, hey, you are being considered for an alternate, and give them the opportunity as to whether they want to decline before their name is presented to the board. That was my only thought.
And we will have those ducks in a row before that
The next
happens.
Okay.
Yeah, because my suggestion is to put this on the agenda in the second reading for Washington Township, so that the vote happens the same day in Bruce and in Washington, and the boards either approve or disapprove this board's choices. Because we have 2 meetings a month, and Bruce has 1 meeting a month. That is why I'm suggesting that we coincide the 2 and we do them on the same day.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. I guess my understanding here is that 2 commissioners to establish the process, and then the 5 of you vote on the slate, or not the slate, but the.
I can barely hear you.
Okay, my understanding is that the current commissioners, you and Mike, determine the process that will be used. And you're suggesting.
And we just did that just now.
Yeah, you were doing that just now, right, okay. And then the whole group votes individually, right? On that, okay. This is the only time that all 5 of you vote, right? I mean,
Correct.
The only characterization in that document
That is
Are you
correct.
ready,
provides
Lisa?
for
You
that.
need to vote.
I'm feeling so sassy.
Okay.
I'll make motion to go ahead and, I don't know if it's a motion or by motion, I'll make the suggestion,
Nominate.
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 I will nominate for, on the Bruce site, would be, Bob Billick and Janet Welch, and my alternate that I would be making recommendation to the board would be Jenny Teller.
I would suggest maybe doing them at one at a time.
Should we do one at a time, or?
Yeah, do them one at a time, so, because I could throw out 3 and you go no.
That's
And
right.
then now what?
Right.
So I would suggest one at a time, sir.
So I'll nominate Bob Billick.
All right,
I will support that.
Second choice for Bruce is going to be, Janet Welch.
And I will support that.
We'll be making recommendation to the board to appoint Jenny Teller as our alternate.
I'm not going to vote on that right there, because that is
Want it to
your
be
board,
no.
sir.
So then should we vote then?
Do we vote on each individual one, or do we vote on each?
We have vote on each individual one.
okay. Then I'll just call a roll.
Who are we doing first?
Whoever he calls. Go ahead.
One at a time. I think we're gonna do them individually, it sounds like, so we could maybe, every
Yes.
nomination, we could do
Okay.
separately.
All right, I've got a sheet here, so we're gonna go one at a time, and Bob Billick is up first, so Mr. Dudowski.
Mr. Philbrook made the motion.
On the nomination, right?
Right.
Nomination,
Mr. Philbrook.
okay.
So
Not
you still do
required,
it.
that's okay. All right, I can, okay,
Yes,
yes, okay.
this is Bob Billick.
Bob Billick, okay. Then let's go Mr. Dudowski.
Yes.
Ms. Olson,
Yes.
Ms. Bradley,
Yes.
Ms. Russell.
Yes.
Is it a yes?
Yes.
Okay. All right, total of 5. Then next is Janet Welch, Philbrook.
Or Batani. You want to be called Batani, right?
Pardon?
It's legally right now Welch.
Okay, all right.
Yes, on Janet Welch.
Okay. Dudowski,
Yes.
Olson,
Yes.
Craffey,
Yes.
Russell.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we've got a total of 5 for each, and that will be the selection then for Bruce Township. Okay, let's move on to Washington Township.
For Washington Township, my nomination first is Cindy Knight.
Sunday night, okay. 1,
We have to vote now. We have to vote in each individual one.
Yes.
yeah, okay. All right, Dudowski,
Yes.
Philbrook,
Yes,
Olson,
Yes.
Craffey,
No.
Russell. Okay. That's 3 votes. All right,
For Washington Township, Scott Palmer.
Scott Palmer. Okay. On the votes. Dudowski,
Yes.
Philbrook,
yes,
Yes.
Olson, Craffey,
Yes.
Russell.
Yes.
Okay. 5. Okay, next.
My next is Phyllis Zimmerman.
Next is Zimmerman Phyllis. Okay. Run the roll. Dadowski,
Yes?
Olson, or no, Philbrook, sorry.
No.
Olson,
Yes.
Graffy,
Yes.
Russell.
No.
Okay. All right, so we have for Washington Township, a majority votes. I mean, we've got 3 out of 5, that's all it takes.
That's it.
That's it, right? Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right.
So we will be going back to the boards. Mr. Philbrook will be taking the 2 to the Bruce board, and I will be taking the 3 to the Washington board. If we are going to pick the alternate at the Washington and at the Bruce board, if there is anybody that does not want to be an alternate, or you really want to be an alternate, contact us appropriately, and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Phyllis,
Can we have a
was
clear
my-
record? Can we maybe announce the 5 appointees?
Sure. Thank you. All right, so from Bruce Township, Bob Billick
Thank you, thank you.
and Janet Welsh. For Washington Township, we have Cindy Knight, Scott Palmer, Phyllis Zimmerman. Congratulations.
Congratulations to everyone, and thank you everyone who applied. We appreciate it. They were all good candidates, and maybe next time, because they are alternating, right? Some are in for 1 year, some are in for 2 years, and some are in for 3, so.
Actually, I think the initial candidates all serve for the 2 years.
Again, we have that initial term, they're all in for 2 years.
That's right.
And then after the 2 years, then you're gonna have, some will be 1, some will be 2, then we'll go to the staggered term.
Okay.
Initially, they'll all be on 2-year terms, the 5 that were appointed this
So
evening.
confusing. Thank you.
Subject to the ratification. Like I said, it's not the most artfully worded section in our local agreement, but I'm just telling, yeah, that's what was agreed to, and that's what it says.
Was there anything in there, like, none of us can be considered for alternates, correct?
Or any one of us could.
Oh, yes,
There's
absolutely.
nothing that
There's nothing
precludes
saying
that.
Because it says that any one of us can also.
Up to one.
A
Can be up to one elected.
township,
Yeah,
one elected official.
It does allow, right, and you did not appoint any
Right.
elected officials this evening, so
Right.
the alternates could conceivably be elected officials appointed by the committees, or they can appoint non-elected officials, entirely up to the 2 township boards.
It's disappointing that everybody didn't get all 5 members to vote for them. That's disappointing.
But I am happy with the outcome as we move on to the next agenda item.
Which is 8.4, update on the website.
Here's a write-up. Deb, who does our marketing and our website, could not be here tonight at that quick notice. So I can kind of tell you.
Can I make a motion that we just table it till next meeting, so she is here?
Sure.
She's the one familiar with this the most, and she's the one who pretty much put it all together. No offense, but it would be the best.
And the reason I asked for this to be put on the agenda is when we approved the funding to update the website, it was with the understanding that the website would be presented to us before it was rolled out. And that did not happen. So the website was rolled out, and so now I just want to understand what changes have happened and what the residents can expect. So that's the only reason for that, right, that the residents don't have this. So, for the next meeting, so thank you.
All you gotta do, residents, is come on our website and check it out. I mean, it is very nice. It's just an update. It makes things move smoother.
So-
But you'll see it.
So, Mr. Philbrook, based on your statement, I'd like to make a motion to have this put on the next agenda.
You already made it.
Okay, I mean, that's, okay. Let's record that, because it's my understanding that if the commissioners that have been selected this evening are ratified by the townships, that they will take their positions as soon as they're ratified. Is that correct?
Next month's meeting.
That's correct.
You guys will
Right,
be-
which will be one day before the meeting, so they're going to need an agenda to walk into.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, absolutely.
Okay.
Mhm, okay.
So it will, the Parks Commission, the next Parks Commission meeting, which I think is on the 19th. Next month.
The 18th.
It's on the 18th, so that will be after the township boards.
We all, our
Yes.
meetings are all on the
Okay.
17th, right, Mike?
Right, so our Board of Trustee meetings in Bruce and in Washington are both on the 17th.
Okay, so
And
that's
then we come
right.
back
So
here on the
they'll,
18th.
Well, we might not be here.
assuming that,
Might not, all new people.
that the five, or they're not candidates anymore, the five
Commission
appointees are ratified, then yes, they would take their seats at the table
Yep.
at the meeting on the 18th.
Yep. That's what I think, right?
I guess I would volunteer to coordinate the start of that meeting up until, and the first item would be the election of officers.
After
And once
swearing
the
in,
officers
that
were
would be-
elected.
That would
once-
seem to be a good step after the swearing in.
I don't think there is no swearing in.
And we were never sworn in.
You guys are never sworn in?
No,
Okay.
no.
All right.
And then also, so when the new commission takes seat, they're going to have to, one of the first orders of business, they're going to have to pick their president, secretary, treasurer, and
Exactly,
that.
the election
And then at
office.
that point there, all of us that are here right now, except for Clara, are away from this board table, including Phyllis and Mr. Rosenberg. So I want to thank everybody for everything that they've done, working together. We came up with a good budget this year. We came up with a lot of great compromises. We've moved a lot of things forward. So on that note right there, if we can continue with the agenda, sir.
Okay. Let's move on to item 8.5, update on Washington Township Playground.
Washington Township Playground, it will be, it's still slated for the end of June, beginning of July. So we're in the process now of coming up with a bid to have the removal done, disposal of that, digging down to solid ground, and then building back up with a foundation, prepping for the turf. If you remember last year, we put $50,000 deposit so that we could order the turf in the playground. That has been ordered. So just kind of anticipating. And then at some point, once I actually meet with the engineer also to see, I don't know if there's any plans or what, like you had talked about that pavilion or where we're gonna put things.
Right, so that's one of the things that Mr. Kozak said in the very beginning, that he will need to get with you to make sure that all the plans are fully incorporated and the new commission. So everything that you have and that you're looking at right there, that those get incorporated within the plan. And because with the parking lot, like you said, being done, it's easier to do it all up front than to have to go back, now we gotta dig this up, now we gotta dig this back up. We're already digging it up, so that should save us some money.
Right, and the pavilion is no longer gonna be in the amphitheater area, correct?
No, it is not, it has to go on the other side where the, because looking at everything and then finally saying, you know what, that's private property, that is not park property. We can't put it there, that is Lions Field. And I understand the commission or the Parks and Rec was originally involved with TRW to put the original pavilion in, and it was TRW who actually did the pavilion there. So we can't put it there, because it's just not park property, and that's an asset, so. It has
Yeah, I
to go
think
on
it
the
should
other
be on the
side.
other side.
Yeah. Without, tearing up all the soccer fields and that, so we're trying to avoid that so we can accommodate everything, right? Yes, absolutely. And then, you know,
So that's the update on that.
Okay. The next item, 8.6, walking path, Orchard Hills Park. Shara?
So Total Asphalt, I reached out to them. Their guys start working in May, so they will be out to level off the cracks where it has sunk in. When you fill cracks, they sink down, so they'll come back and re-crack fill.
Okay.
and did they give you a timeline as when they thought they would be back?
In May.
In May, okay, if you said that.
I don't know if they'll be back to do, but that's when their guys come back, and they're
Right.
definitely coming out, so.
Thank you. And I appreciate you following up on that.
Okay. This finishes up unfinished business. Let's go to item 9, new business. Item 9.1, Romeo Community Schools payment, I believe is.
So the Romeo Community Schools is one of the contracts that we'll be looking at. Mr. Darren, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. So we will be meeting, or on the next agenda will be when the superintendent will be here to have a conversation that is needed. We still need to, prior to their fiscal year, because we still owe them money. If we would like to sign the check, I will bring that, I'm assuming at the next meeting.
Well, we won't be here. Well,
Well,
we're
here's the
gonna have
situation.
to come in and sign the checks anyways until the new commission can get on there. Now, if I may, it is my understanding that we need 2 contracts. Or are they going to be rolled into one? Because you need one for the 25,000 for all the fields in that, the one that has been expired since forever. We just need to get that updated, and we can sign that and get rolling on that.
Right.
And then you wanted the one for the 20,000 for the pool usage. That is nowhere mentioned in any contract. Now, if we can just roll that into the one for the school usage, 25 for one, 20 for the other, we can sign that contract, then we can sign the checks, and we can get this all done, one fell swoop. So,
Makes sense.
It's been approved, yeah, I mean, the additional funds are approved and we have the minutes for them, it's just the.
right,
that
and
we
it
need
was
the
all
contract
contingent
and then-
upon the contract being done. So absolutely, what she says is true, but it was contingent upon
Not
having a
contingent.
valid contract, and we still don't.
It wasn't
So that's my push to
contingent?
get it done, so if we can have this done for the next meeting, we can wrap up everything.
Okay, but
This is
there needs to
very
be,
true.
there needs to be a conversation with the
Superintendent.
superintendent. We can't just unilaterally say, here's the contract. It has to be an agreement, right?
Yeah.
Negotiations.
Now, what we had asked that before this meeting, that we have a meeting with the superintendent, and that obviously did not happen. So.
He was not available, so
so-
we've had other people come to the board meeting to have conversations with, so this was the best thing for him, and he asked if it was okay if he came
Well,
to the
that's
meeting.
fine, absolutely fine.
The issue is gonna be that if a new contract does get drawn up, then we're still gonna have to, their attorney's gonna have to take a look at it, redline it, it's gonna come back, it's gonna be probably minimum, maybe 2 months, we're lucky. 2 meetings, I guess I should say.
That's probably really, whether it takes 2 months, but yeah, I mean,
We've been
been
working
around
on
long
this.
enough to know that things don't just,
Right, and we've been
things don't
working on
happen
it
like the
for
old
3
days
months
where you
now.
just come in, shake hands and go, there's attorneys, there's review, there's revisions.
Absolutely.
Right.
We
So
do
we just
have
want to
the
get the ducks in a row, and then we can go
Understood.
ahead and execute the payments, and life goes on from there. And then from then on, it's a seamless process, right? It comes up the next year, the contract's still good, sign the checks, away you go.
Yeah, I feel like if it is gonna go past July, because that's their fiscal year, plus this money is from our last fiscal year. So it legitimately would be great to have it done before our audit starts. the commission did agree, not contingent upon, but that we would have a contract and get together. But the amount was agreed upon.
Yeah, but the problem, what I was just getting at is that the Romeo School Board's commission is probably the board is gonna be wanting to look at the new contract. They're gonna need to approve it.
Right.
He's gonna write a contract, it's gonna go to their attorney, yeah.
We owe them
I
from last year.
understand that. Oh,
We paid them last year.
No.
6250,
No, this
6250,
fiscal year.
6250, and 6250.
22, 23, we did not.
Yeah, we
pay
do.
them.
I can pull up the payables on that right there, that we paid those.
The prior year, you did pay them, but we did
That
not
was
pay
in the
them.
prior year, I approved it for this past year.
It's sitting on my dresser or my
Yeah, so.
filing cabinet at,
All I know is it was in the payables that I approved, and,
Dan, you didn't
And the
sign the
numbers are there.
check.
Let's just get clarification as far as what you have on payment versus what was paid, and then go from there.
Well, I gotta believe what
Like you
Claire's
saw
saying.
it, it's sitting on my filing
So the
cabinet.
payment is, so currently, how far past due are we to the Romeo school system right now on payment?
Well, our fiscal year ended March 31st, so
Right.
we should have had it paid by the end of our fiscal year. Their fiscal year doesn't end until the end of June, so we do have that time, but I'm not sure why we are waiting, because it was for fiscal year 22, 23 that we have not paid.
I will go back and double check all the payables, because I remember Cindy, Gary, and I having a conversation, what's this additional 6250 for Romeo School? Now we got another 6250. And so, and if you read the contract, it says that it would pay it quarterly. And so, reading backwards, 25 divided by 4, 6250. So that's what we approved. We had discussions on this right here. So that's kind of where we're at. So I'm excited, Mr. Stern, that we can turn around and we can get this resolved at the next meeting and move forward.
We'll move with all due speed to get it done.
What do we owe right now? It's a 6250. The check that we have right now currently, is it for 6250?
No, and I didn't even bother bringing it. I don't know. Well, so it would be the 25,000, I think it's 45,000.
Well, the 20,000, you had proposed that at the meeting, and there was no contract, and we never approved the 20,000 for the
You
pool.
did, in the
But
minutes.
I think it's something that we should have, but again, we need to get the contract, dot the i's, cross the t's, and this is what we've been talking with Mr. Stern about for the past, since he came on board. Am I correct, Mr. Stern?
It's come up at every meeting, yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, we're attempting to move it forward, but we just can't do everything in one night. So I'm excited that we're finally getting together with the superintendent and it can move forward.
Okay. All right, so that item will be on the next agenda. All right. All right, let's move on to
I
item.
can't hear you, sir.
Pardon?
I can't hear you.
Oh. That item should be then on the next agenda.
That should be, yes,
Okay,
on the
so
next
let's
agenda.
just make a note of that, so we got that.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, fine, all right.
Contract review with
Right,
Uh,
okay. So we got that
Romeo
structured.
Community
Yeah, okay.
Schools, legal, and PNR, sure.
Okay, all right. Let's move on then to 9.2, the addition of the pickleball courts and a tennis court fixed. Claire?
Right, so this is kind of a moot point, just because I wasn't exactly understanding that Gibble Webster's is coming in and that we're gonna sit. But we have in the budget the pickleball courts, and the tennis fix. So if we were doing those, they would be done at the same time. That would be my point of why that's on here. I did get, or I asked Total Asphalt if they would go out and look at, obviously, the issue inside the tennis court. And then also while they were out there, just, we have had it measured off. An additional 60 feet is what we would need for 4 more pickleball courts, plus the length of the tennis court. I'm thinking that we would go off the east side. So he did kind of give me some specs and.
Yeah, that's where these pine trees would come down.
The pine trees would
Yeah.
come down that cause the problems.
Right,
Anyway,
sure.
so, but I think we'll reserve this until we meet with Giffords to see where everything's gonna lay out.
Right, and that was part of the discussion with Giffords, and that we had approved money for the pickleball courts and fixing the tennis court there. And I did tell him where you wanted the pickleball courts, so because of our prior conversations and that. So he's got all of that, and then I did give him a copy of the P&R budget, so that he knew the kind of funds we were looking at right there, and he can kind of say, hey, you don't have it or you do have it, kind of like that thing there. And then I also gave him a copy of the interlocal agreement, just so that he understood how everything worked in that, because he initially, when he wrote this up, he wrote it up under the old entity name. So just to bring everything up to current and that, and I think we're all on the same page now. So it's going to be a good meeting with you and him. And
So can I just ask you where the pavilion or the shade area, what the thought process is? Is it behind the playground is where you were thinking?
to the south of the playground,
To the south.
to the south of the playground. So if I envision this correctly, you're 100 foot by, I think it was 60, or was that 100? 100 by 100
For the playground?
for the playground. I have the numbers here. It
And it was
doesn't
100 by
matter.
60, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I do know that part of that, remember where you took those trees out and all the stumps are? That's gonna have to be ground down or bulldozed or whatever to get those out of there, so that you can make it a level playing ground. And then, so that you can put the new area in there. Now you have a sandbox and you have that other box would have to be moved, relocated. And then basically where to the south and then up from the trail, because the one I gave him, Mr. Philbrook gave me a bid that he had that came through Bruce Township for a 40 by 40 with numbers and that on it that were well within the budget. And so I gave him that as a guide to work with right there. And then if you guys, you want to tweak the measurements there, there you go. But at least now he has something to work on. And so he took and he said, okay, if I put a 40 by 40, and then he brought it up on the computer and actually said, okay, so this can go here and this can go here. So he can look at that, Mr. Kozak can look at that with you guys and just kind of go from there, and then you guys give the blessing on it.
All right. So that's really it right now. I mean, once we get some engineering and some more discussion, then we can figure out where everything goes.
Okay. Let's then move on to item 9.3, other park maintenance, and I believe that's Safe Working.
Finally get to it.
We're finally down, we're down to the mosquitoes.
You feel like they're biting you already?
So, in the past, we've used Mosquito Joe. So Mosquito Joe is done every 3 weeks, and it has worked. Then the quotes that additionally came in are for one time per month. So when you look at it, okay, so the third quote that you're getting today is on top, and it's for 18,000, which is kind of, it's out. So then you're looking at Orkin and Mosquito Joe, which are already vetted vendors through Parks and Recreation.
So this one's out because of cost?
Cost.
Okay, and what, just out of curiosity, why do they think that they're worth that much?
I do not know.
Okay.
We-
They're just in a spacecraft kind of hovering over here, so
Right,
let's see what we can get.
They're also doing it for every 3 weeks.
Uh-huh.
The quotes are for May through October. And they're for the spaces in our parks that are used the most. the athletic fields, the playgrounds, the amphitheater, where most of the people are. So again, Mosquito Joe,
Is that your recommendation?
Mosquito Joe is who we use, but we also use Orkin. Orkin, what I don't necessarily know, and it must be fine, or else they would be doing it for every 3 weeks, is can we get by one time a month? That's what I don't know. So
Yeah, I don't know.
if we do take Orkin, I would like to ask that if we need to, like if we feel that it's not, like we need it 3 weeks or even a minimum of 4 weeks, if we could change that. So if we could go up to or we can keep Mosquito Joe. They have done a fine job for us as well.
I know that a mosquito egg can go from an adult, or go from an egg to an adult. It takes approximately 8 to 10 days, so it's way under a month's time.
Right,
So, I mean.
but I don't know how long
The larva?
how long the spray
Yeah.
stays.
I do know that, so our home in Washington, we had an acre there, and Karen used to call them twice a year, and the spray would last for 3 months on our 1 acre. And we were heavily wooded and a lot of scrub brush there. And then plus we raised chickens and ducks and that. So we had and there was a lot of water with a pond, so we had a great breeding ground. And every 3 months seemed to work for us. Karen handled it, she said, I'm happy with it. But,
Then I would suggest that we try Orkin one time per month.
It's less money.
Right.
Didn't we have a problem with bugs not too long? Was it hornets or what was the one we were dealing with last year?
Well, we had ants and
Okay.
we've had bees or hornets.
What were we using for that and was that
So
working?
those are, we kind of use them as they come. We've never, because the problems are, well, we use ourselves for the ants. But for the hornets, they've been, you know what I mean, they're not always at Gilcher. And they're not always, we just try to fill in where they can make nests.
sure.
I'll make a motion to go ahead and contract with Orkin for 6 months at a total of $5,700 for our mosquito service.
I will support that.
I have a question.
Motion on the table, support.
Can I
Any
ask a quick
discussion?
question? Sorry. Is there a lot of standing water in any of these parks? Just standing water?
Well, at Gilcher, there's a natural preserve area on the very west side of the park.
Yeah,
You guys ever
west
tried-
and on the south, right?
Yeah.
Towards that corner, west and the south?
West and the south, yes.
Yeah.
Where, I don't see the, on Orkin's quote, it says the includes treatment for the 6 parks the aforementioned. We will treat the shaded, moist areas that are highlighted in yellow.
So I didn't give you the entire.
Okay, so you just
But
gave
if
us
you'd
the
like to
phrase.
see it,
Well,
I would just bring it.
I was just wondering, because they're saying that there is a lot of, there are a few areas that are holding a lot of moisture. And then my only other question was, we will treat the shaded, moist areas that are highlighted in red and yellow. Okay, so it said, they'll be needed to be treated with the pellet or the granular product for those moist areas. So that is included in their treatment amount, that's not an additional cost, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because that's how I was reading it, I just wanted to make sure that there was.
Yes. Lynn did all the books, so.
All the parks have water issues in certain areas.
Pardon?
All
All
the
the
parks
parks.
have
Everywhere has
standing
water
water
issues.
issues.
Well, the reason I brought it up was because when I was taking my Master Gardener classes, one of the things that they highly recommended was, they're called bio tabs or bio granular.
That's what Orkin will do.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Oh, that's good news.
Very good.
And it's
Okay, so-
non-destructive, it's safe for the environment, it's.
I have to have you come over and take a look at my garden. I need some help.
What do we have,
Okay.
flowers or vegetables or both?
Flowers,
Flowers.
yes.
All right, there's a motion on the table by Philbrook, support by Gutowski for
Yes.
Orkin, in the amount of $5,700, is that correct?
You got paperwork or you got papers?
I got,
Okay. No further discussion? Call the question. Philbrook,
Yes.
Gutowski.
Yes.
Mosquitoes are done. Okay, 9.4, PNC signatures, Star and access
Internal
accounts.
access. We just need the commissioners to go in and sign so that we can, Pinnacle is an extra step to make sure that we can get on and look at what is happening, look at the check batches that are going through. They get approved per the audit. But STARS was set up, but we need signatures for it so that we can do the same thing for them.
When would you, all right, so if you want, give me a call tomorrow and I will gladly meet with you and we'll get this in here.
Can we just go to the bank at any time?
Yeah.
And let her know?
Well, last time we had to make an appointment.
I was gonna say, we'll reach out to them and then let them know. Most of the time, you can just step in there and do the signature.
Who's on
As
the
long
shelf?
as it's something that-
Practices vary from bank to bank. I've run into the same. What do you mean I need an appointment? You got my money.
Yeah, yeah, I got X number of dollars, are you kidding me? Before we go on, Mr. Rosenberg, I'd like to go back to the council. The one thing that we do not have, sir, that we need to get done is the interlocal with STAR so that Bruce and Washington sign that, and we get that done off of the table. You know, more of these things that get done that we don't have to continually deal with, the commission can do their real job.
The commission has an old agreement, I didn't bring it with me, a very old agreement, I think it's only like
Yes.
a page and a half.
Yeah,
long.
and I had sent you that, yeah.
It does not have much substance to it, it's a little light. So yes, I think it would make sense to, not to turn it into a 50-pager, but to just make sure it covers all the essentials that it should.
Yeah, and in some cases, it'll mimic the interlocal.
To a large
Parks
extent
and
it
Rec.
should.
Yeah,
Yes.
to a large extent. So hopefully, we can get that done pretty expeditiously. And
Certainly.
what's that word, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I knew what you
So we can get that done and take that off of the list too. One by one, we'll knock them down, right?
Hey, had we already turned it over to you for adding language for change amendments to the interlocal?
Well, that
Like
would
if
have to
there's-
happen with the board,
Okay.
because the boards are the ones that put the interlocal together. This commission does not have that authority.
Okay, but there were some things that were brought up as far as if we had to make any changes for anything, should we have Mr. Steeren working on recommendations for language for us to take to the board? Because there were just I can't remember offhand, and I
There's
had
nothing in there to make an amendment.
to make an amendment.
Actually,
I
There were a
can
couple
tell you
things.
that's not really a significant issue, because
Okay.
the agreement's a contract. It's a contract between the communities. The communities can, by mutual agreement, extend it, undo it, modify it, whatever, whether it says so in the actual agreement or not.
Right.
You have that authority.
Right. There is a section, I think it's section 13 or something, that said you can make no oral changes
Right.
to the contract. And that apparently is the standard contract language used in business contracts, as I understand it.
Yes.
Because I brought that issue up with Gary Kopp and Mike Tremblay, and they're very happy with that. You could go beyond that and specify, okay, how does it actually happen? Which would be more instructive, but is not necessary to do. So there is
Right.
language in there that addresses
My,
that issue.
my point is that even a section in an agreement that says an amendment procedure, the parties to the agreement could even agree to amend that, to amend the amendments. You know, again, the parties to the contract, by mutual agreement, can do what they want. Amend it, modify it, extend it, tear it up altogether.
Yeah, look at your credit card agreements and your Yahoo agreements. They just sent you here, here's the new agreements. And you agreed to the new agreements before you got the
It's a
agreement.
little different. That's a little more one-sided.
Exactly.
Not so much mutual. You want our money, you want our business, sign here.
Absolutely.
No negotiation whatsoever.
I actually have a question too before we close out. So all the people that were voted in to be commissioners, I think if it was me, I would like to get as much information to start reading. I'm assuming that all the boards are going to ratify everyone that was chosen tonight. So should we start maybe getting packets together for these new, commissioner nomination
I
people?
will have a welcome meeting and some sit downs with each one so they can ask any questions, so I think that's the
Right.
best way to do it. Because learning about this department from the inside out would definitely benefit everybody.
And I think it came up, it might have even been in my interview. We talked about once the new commission gets seated, we can, they can go about their business, but we can have a little primer or orientation of sorts. Clara has a lot of things to orientate them about, but I mean,
Yeah.
I kind of have a little spiel on, Open Meetings
They
Act.
need to know OMA,
and,
so
right,
they
all
don't
that
make
kind of stuff
mistakes and get in trouble.
That isn't
from the start.
intuitive, but when they're sitting on a board, which is a public body, we have
Yeah.
laws that we need to comply with, and
Right.
the new commissioners will need to know what those bounds are, and I
Yeah.
will certainly do my part to help with that.
Get them started on the best foot forward.
Yeah,
Correct.
and what we can do in the background in the meantime is we can put together, whether it's Excel, Word, doesn't matter, a list for them that, here we have a contract here, we have a contract here, we have a contract here, here's the interlocal, here's the budget, here's this, so that they're not discovering things as they go, because there is a lot of stuff, and it's not that things are hidden or anything, it's just that for some people, well, they've been dealing with this for so many years, they have a full understanding of it, but somebody new coming in, they don't know about these things, so the more information that we can hand off and help people.
You are going to have a unique situation where you're going to have complete changeover, as opposed to the staggered terms where there's always that common thread, there's always some
Right.
veterans, if you will, on the commission, because there'll be things, certainly Ms. Russell will play a large role in that too. I mean, they're going to need to know what the budget cycle is and when we need to do things or start thinking about doing things, planning for things, all those sorts of things. So they don't just come in and like, okay, we're here and now what are we supposed to do?
Yeah.
Where's the manual?
Yeah,
Where's the bathroom first, right?
First, where's the
bathroom?
Kind of like an elected official, when a whole new board gets
You hire
elected, they gotta sit
orientation.
down. Fortunately, there's good support staff in the background, and that's
Well, that's key.
literally, they're holding up,
That's key to provide
The
that
elected
support
official.
until they get their feet under them, so to
Right.
speak, and
Yeah.
that
So thankful
hopefully.
for that.
We call it new hire orientation in the business world.
Right.
Just a question. It's probably best that some of that happen before they're officially appointed, because once they're officially appointed, then we have to be careful of the open meetings requirements.
The attorney can meet with them.
Yeah, part of the difficulty though is we've got this timing thing where it's gonna be, there's not gonna be much of a gap. It's going to be, the board ratifications are going to take place. one
24
day,
hours,
and
yeah.
we'll be meeting
Well,
the next.
But
Yeah.
I understand that, but I mean, in the meantime, you've got a window of opportunity. And I think the other advantage, very frankly, is that Phyllis here is very well versed in the Open Meetings Act and some of those things in terms of board procedure, so that gives a leg up.
Phyllis will have some institutional knowledge to bring to the board, which.
So when we were elected, we did sit down, a group of us, that would have constituted a quorum with the attorney in the attorney's office. We were not deliberating towards any
Decisions.
decisions at all. all it was an information exchange.
Right.
And the attorney's gonna be the first one who tells you, we can't go there. Am I right, Mr. Starrett?
That's right, and that's exactly what I'm envisioning, as I'm accustomed to having those kinds of meetings and, again, just part of the orientation. There's things that the director would tell them about, like how to actually run, Parks and Rec system, whereas I would focus on the legal niceties, if you will, or not so niceties.
All right.
Good.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Move on.
Let's move on then to community comments. Is there anyone?
community comments, Clara, do you have any community comments? Do you have anything?
We have someone from the community who has.
There we
some
go.
comments. Hi, Mary.
Hi, sorry I was late. We were having a baseball game up at the beautiful community center. Mary Meisner, Village of Romeo. I'm a lifelong resident of the Romeo School District and consequently also the Romeo Washington Bruce Parks and Rec area. Last meeting, $15,000 was put into the Parks and Rec budget to get some activities going in the Washington area. My memory helps me recall on the first Sunday in the month of June, sponsored by the Washington Lions and assisted by the fire department there, they had a gathering called Super Sunday, and it was always well attended. Started with a pancake breakfast, followed by a chicken barbecue, craft fairs, etc. Everyone looked forward to it. Parks and Rec had nothing to do with it, and for some reason, it just went away. On the other hand, Romeo Lions sponsors the Romeo Peach Festival on Labor Day weekend, and in excess of 100,000 people attend. Parks and Rec oversees the 510K run, Kids Fest, fireworks, which are privately sponsored, and the staging of the floral parade. It is an annual homecoming for many people who spend the weekend. The majority of the attractions have nothing to do with Parks and Recreation. The spaghetti dinner at St. Clement's, the pie a la mode at the Methodist Church, food trucks everywhere, craft fairs at Croswell School in Frontier Town, and the classic car show and the parade on Sunday night are always well attended. People come from far and wide. These activities have nothing to do with Parks and Recreation. Romeo also has an active DDA and a Chamber of Commerce that hosts Winterfest, Spring Celebration, Vintage Festival, Week of Terror and Horror around the Tilson Street attractions. The Romeo High School Homecoming Parade proceeds down Main Street and ends with a pep rally in the Village Park. So I am hoping after this selection, which has happened now, of the new board tonight, that the two present Washington Township reps will be able to move their volunteering to Washington and get some things from the past back in motion. It should be easy, since you're all well aware that your population is so much greater than Romeo and Bruce combined. Please don't hold it against us because people flock into Romeo to participate in such things as bike night, evening under the stars, Jeep night, etc. Parks and Rec has nothing to do with those activities. It's all created by hardworking, creative business owners, organizations, and volunteers. And it's sort of easy to figure out people just like wine and cheese at Starkweather, strolling musicians, and deer hunter's widow shopping night. It's just about community spirit. It's a good thing that that costs almost nothing. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary.
Thanks, Mary. Did they win?
No.
Oh,
It's got mercy.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I do have one comment. I feel that,
Was there any other comments from them?
sorry,
Nobody? No.
I feel that whoever gets on this board, or the people that were nominated, and as we go forward, I think that anybody that sits in a room and is for the tri-community and is for the Parks and Recreation Department, and we all work together, it will be a beautiful thing. It can be a beautiful thing. So it doesn't matter if someone voted no. It's not necessarily about that. It's about how do we go forward.
Making the right choices for the community.
That's all it's about.
Okay, next.
Excited.
Well, it's what's happening, and we pretty much covered that. We got commission comments, that was just one, is there another?
So anything on what's happening?
Well, our budget was passed, so we are moving forward into this new fiscal year. Our brochure is up and should be out, I'm gonna say. Tuesday. The link will be sent, and then the physical copy will follow. And that's about it. We are building and going.
Okay. Let me take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you, and including your boards, for all the efforts that have gone in over the last, 4 years. There has been an amazing change in this organization as I see it. It has solved a number of problems in terms of legal responsibility, how it's organized. A lot of hard work has gone in over these years on a part of primarily you folks and your boards. And I think that just is outstanding. And I want to thank each and every one of you for your diligent efforts over the last number of years. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for all you've done.
Thank you.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Commission comments?
Go ahead.
Oh,
I don't have much.
Cindy, do you have anything? This is our last meeting.
I already
potentially.
said it. I said thank you everybody for everything. This is
I have a few comments. I've met a lot of good people. I've learned a lot of things. I hope I've contributed, even if you don't agree with some of the things. As they say, proof is in the pudding, right? I think the things that are happening, the repairs that have happened, the agreements that are getting solidified, the issues that one by one, we're just making go away so that we do not keep talking about them. Those are total time wasters. We want to do, and I agree with every resident, that we want to do Parks and Rec what is right for the community. My goal, when I was appointed, was to come in here, get the legal stuff done, start getting things in motion, start getting things fixed. We had some parks that were in disarray. We had a park that had a severe groundwater problem. And most of the issues were with the parks. They didn't seem to be with activities, because we seem to be very strong with the activities. And the residents really respond to those. I've been to a lot of the senior events. I've met a lot of the seniors. In fact, I'd like to say kudos to the seniors who made the paper yesterday, the last couple of days. There were the ladies that do the,
Mats for homes.
the mats using the recycled plastic bags where they shred them and they make the mats for the homeless. I believe it's the homeless, or is it the veterans? The homeless, thank you, Janet. And they actually made the paper, and you know what? Those are the kind of things that help to solidify and move an entire community forward. So I'm very proud of these people. I'm very proud of everybody who works for Parks and Rec. Because quite honestly, a lot of this is just frickin' thankless. It's a lot of time. I know I have spent many hours every month. Most boards that you serve on, yeah, you're probably doing 2 hours a month. This has not been the case. we have probably done 5 and 6 hours a week since we have been on here, reading, learning, figuring out how to make things better, not to destroy anything, but to bring people together. And sometimes in doing that, the wrong impression is given that, oh, you're trying to destroy Parks and Rec. Quite the contrary, because the conversation goes back to the total soccer days. That's dead, that's over with, bury that, you know, whether it was an opportunity or wasn't an opportunity, it doesn't matter, because it's done and over with, and we move forward. I want to wish Clara nothing but success. I want to see these parks grow, I want to see activities happen, and you're right, last night you said that we do have activities going on. And Mary Meisner was absolutely correct too when she said Romeo's got their act together as far as having events, and they have all these people involved into it. Shame on Washington for not getting together and doing this. You know, we have all these people out there that live in these mini mansions, and in some case mansions, that they could actually step up and help out. But you see the same faces over and over again. So I applaud Romeo for doing that right there, that they are doing all of these events. We are not in a position to do a DDA, but we are in a position to do other things. You need somebody within the leadership at the helm helping to drive that. And that's our next focus point, is to help drive that right there. The $15,000 that was put in the budget for the Washington Lions is kind of seed money, just like we give the $15,000 to the Romeo Lions.
We do not.
And they do
I mean,
a
I
great
should
job
correct
with
that.
And they do a great job with that. Right?
Sponsors
Yeah.
sponsor the fireworks.
So, you know, and that's been built up over a period of time. That is my hope, that that same thing happens, and as the village area within Washington is developed and built out, that we do have a walkable community, that we can do more of these events. So I'm excited for the future, and I want to thank you all for giving me this opportunity.
Well, thank you to Mike and to Dan, for being the commissioners here. It is really hard sitting up here.
It can be, and and that was kind of one of the things I wanted to add on to that. Despite, you know, the difficulties and not always seeing eye to eye on everything, at the end of the day, the most important thing is to listen and value other people's opinions and perspectives, regardless if they're the same as yours or not. Having a diverse perspective on things definitely drives new ideas and moving a great, a great organization like our current Parks and Recs forward. On another note, I do also want to thank Clara and your entire staff. You guys are the heart of this community. You're what makes these events happen, these programs continue, the smiling faces of children, people with special needs, even our seniors. We have such a great senior community here, like Dan had mentioned. One thing I do also want to say is, don't get discouraged when you do have those types of disagreements, because they should help for the betterment of the community. And it's everybody's great passion that is making those decisions, sometimes difficult, but it's what continues to make us keep on moving forward. And on another note, I just want to say also to every single candidate, it was a difficult choice. I mean, I personally had to do this almost like a business model when I was reviewing each candidate and breaking it down and in a matrix format that says, here's my criteria for what I think would really make great candidates. And I gotta tell you, everybody was very close. So it wasn't any one shining star or person that stood out. Everybody had great attributes. And my only thought would be an ask of each of you who have, put yourself out there, regardless if you were voted in as a commission member or not, please continue to stay involved. One thing, I was just having a one-off discussion with Dan and Cindy earlier. I said, I was thinking about all these great people, and wouldn't it be outstanding if we also looked at possibly considering ambassadors for each group that the Parks and Rec, support, like an ambassador for the seniors, somebody, I think, was it Joyce Monty? She was one that was like just so, like she would just be an exceptional ambassador for the senior community to work with Parks and Rec and bounce off ideas because she's involved in those programs every day. Somebody who has, a child with disabilities to be the ambassador for, helping with special, with the special needs group, and looking at how we can improve our, adaptive needs programs, and also making accessibility for the playgrounds and parks and things like that. And I wasn't gonna try and talk as long as you did. I'm trying to keep it short, but I'm just getting excited.
Possible.
Yeah, believe it or not, it can be. So with that said, I'm just excited, and please, I think that all of us would also say that with the new commission going forward, we're always here, that if you need to bounce ideas, questions, need some type of understanding, aside from Claren and John, who is a great addition to this organization, please feel free to reach out. We're still around here, and I think everybody is very open-minded to answer questions, to give opinions if you want them, and sometimes even if you don't. But, and then my final note is this, so thank you to everyone in the community. My final note, this is just a community-friendly reminder. The beginning of May, and I said this last night, the beginning of May ends government restrictions and requirements for healthcare providers, including Medicare, to discontinue paying for at-home COVID testing. And we all know that it still keeps coming up. So it's the beginning of May, like May 3rd through the 8th. I don't remember the exact date, but this is very near and dear to me. I'm just asking that everybody check and see with your healthcare provider. You don't have to pay for those out of pocket, but now's the time to stock up. So with that said, that's all I'm going to say for this evening. Thank you, everybody. I don't know if you're sneezing.
Oh, no.
No,
Can you beat that?
it's bedtime now.
I know, right? I'm just getting going. I started drinking caffeine at 6 o'clock at night.
I don't have much to say except for thank you. It's been a real pleasure working with staff, the commission, the residents, and I look forward to everything that's going to come in the future. So thanks all.
You'll be a lot
Dick,
better off
thank
with
you.
a 5-member commission than 2.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
that's all I have. Thank you.
Everybody.
Eli, Rick, and Paul, thanks for
Thank
doing a
you.
great job.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Phyllis, thank you.
And on that note, I'd like to make a final motion to
Support.
Motion and support.
Support by, at what time?
Okay. 8:22.